So welcome back, Geometry Kiddos, and we're going to talk today about distance and midpoint formula. We're going to review it a little bit, and then you're also going to have an assignment on it. So I think by now you probably should have finished your Pythagorean Theorem quiz, and you should have your Pythagorean Theorem homework in the box. If you don't, get those done here in a little bit. Anytime the sub needs to pause this so that you can get something wrote down or maybe take notes on something, just raise your hand and have her pause the video, and she can do that for you. Also remember that the video is going to be online on my website. It's also going to be up on Google Classroom, so if you need to review it or rewatch it again when you're at home, feel free to do so. So let's get to it. So last week we talked about distance formula, which is this formula right here, the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus the square root of y2 minus y1 squared, and that will give us the distance between 2 points. Pythagorean Theorem, in my opinion, is a little bit easier than this, but it is something that you probably should have a good handle on and know how to use. So let's just review real quick how to do one of these. So let's look at this example. So if we have 2 points, 4, 3, and negative 2, 1, we're going to put them in our formula. I'm going to make this 1.1, and I'm going to make this 1.2. So x2, which is negative 2, plus, minus x1, which is 4, squared, and we're going to add y2, which is 1, minus y1, which is 3, and that number is squared. So let's do inside the square root sign first. So this is going to be a negative 6 squared, which is the same thing as 36. And this is going to be a negative 2 squared, which is the same thing as 4. This is still in the square root symbol. So 36 plus 4 is the square root of 40, and that will simplify to 2 root 10. Remember that we're not going to change these into decimals right now, unless it's something like our activity we're getting ready to do. We want those in decimals, so unless otherwise told so, you're going to want to leave them in simplified square root form. So let's really quickly, let's do just a quick discussion on midpoint, because we're going to be talking about that again. Remember that the midpoint of a segment is halfway between the endpoints, and we find that by using the mean or the average of the two. So let's try this one really quickly. So if we're going to find the coordinates of M for the midpoint of GH, so if you wanted to draw a picture of this, it would look like G and H, and the midpoint would be M, and we're looking for the coordinates of M. So we're going to find the average of the two, so we're going to add them together and divide by 2 for the x's. So we've got x plus negative 14 added together, which is going to give us negative 6 divided by 2. So the x is going to be negative 3. And h, again, we're going to find the average of the two, so negative 6 plus 12 divided by 2, which is going to give us 6 over 2, which is, the y is going to be 3. So our coordinate pairs for the midpoint will be negative 3, positive 3, is where the midpoint would be located on this line. So if you need to go back through that, feel free to do so. We've already talked about that a little while back. And now we're going to move on to your assignment. This is a fun one, and you're going to have a couple of days to do this because it's going to take quite a bit of work. So you're going to get a map that looks like this, and it's a distance and midpoint map, where you have a map of the U.S. and the whole thing is on an XY grid. So your directions are down here on the bottom, and it says that you are planning a trip across the U.S., and you have to travel through at least 10 states. I'm pretty sure I went through 10 states. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh yeah, I went through 10 states. we're going to find the total distance between the start and the finish that you will travel. So I want this done on a separate sheet of paper. You're going to have to find the distance between all 10 of those points. So when I started my first line, I went from Arkansas to Oklahoma. So I need to find out how far that is. Now, I know it will be easier to use Pythagorean Theorem here, but I really want you to practice using the distance formula. So my first part of my trip, and I'm going to have 10 of these, my first part of my trip is going to use the distance formula. So we're going to say that y2, or x2, we'll start with y, so y2 minus y1 squared, and x2 minus x1 squared. So this is going to be a negative 1 squared, and this one's going to be a 4 squared, and all under the square root sign. So we've got the square root of 1 plus 16, so the square root of 17, which, if we get our calculators out, and this is where I want you to use decimals. Square root of 17. And you can do that by the change button right here. It's going to give me 4.12. I would round these to the nearest hundredth, because then we're going to come over here and we're going to use our scale, and each box equals 50 miles. So I'm going to have to multiply this by 50 miles. Which will give me, my first section is 206.16 miles. So you're going to continue this, and you're going to do all 10 stops. I just did from Oklahoma to Arkansas, so my next stop would be from Arkansas to Louisiana. And you're going to continue your way all around your whole entire trip. Now, for part 2, it says that you're going to split your trip into 5 days. And you're going to find the distance that you will travel each day, try to pick locations you would want to visit. I am totally okay with you just doing my first section's here, my second section's here, so that's 1 day from Oklahoma to Arkansas, Arkansas to Louisiana. Not anything that you really need to tell me there, other than you can just tell me day 1 is Oklahoma to Arkansas to Louisiana. I put mine because I want to go to New Orleans. And that's my first day. So you're going to have 5 of those days, and you're going to tell me where exactly you're going on each day. And I don't care how you change those up, but you need to split those up. So the last part says that you must make a pit stop every day for food and gas. You have to stop exactly halfway every day, finding your stopping space, aka your midpoint. So what you're going to do is you're going to have to find your midpoint from Oklahoma, well in mine is Oklahoma to Arkansas, Arkansas to Louisiana. That was my first day. So I've got to find this total distance and then locate where my midpoint would be. So I'm going to do this on a different example. In 1 day, I'm going to go from Indianapolis to Mount Rushmore. And so I've already found the coordinates of those 2 points, so I'm going to find the midpoint from there. So if you remember, you're going to find the average, the mean of those. So my first x is 10, my second x is -7, and my first y is 12, and my second y is 20. So my halfway stop is going to be 3/2 and 32/2, which simplifies to 16. So my first stop is going to be 3/2, 16, which on my map, I would be able to find 3/2, which is 1.5, and then up 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and it goes right there on my line. So that would be my midpoint stop right there in Iowa, somewhere right around Des Moines, Iowa, it looks like. So you're going to continue this. Remember that you're going to have 5 of these. You're going to have 5 midpoints because you have 5 days. You're going to have 5 days, so you'll be able to tell me which day you're going on, and you're going to have 10 steps on each of the distances. This is going to take a while. You're going to have 2 days. You're going to have Tuesday and Wednesday in class to do this assignment. So don't feel like you need to take it home unless you just want to. But this will be due on Thursday when you come in. Now remember, Thursday is more Norman, so you're not going to have any time in the morning to work on this on Thursday. You're going to be in more Norman all morning and then lunch, and then you'll be right into this class after lunch. So make sure that this gets done by Thursday when you come in, and we'll see you guys on Thursday afternoon.